Powerage is the 5th album in the AC/DC album series, and it was one of their most underrated albums. Actually, I think is one of the most underrated albums of all time. So, why is it so underrated? Well, we are gonna find out. Let's get started. Powerage was released on May 5th of 1978 worldwide. It was the first album to be released on the same date everywhere, as before that, like, it'll be released on a certain date in Australia or a certain date internationally. Powerage was the first album to be released on the same day worldwide. It was also the last album to feature producers Harry Vanda and George Young until 10 years later with the Blow Up Your Video album. It was the first album to feature Cliff Williams, the known bassist Cliff Williams on there after Mark Evans was fired a year before. And it's basically like Let There Be Rock's sister album. Basically, it had the same blueprints as Let There Be Rock's did. It had that same powerful sound, that powerful riffs. However, Powerage kind of had a slower tempo than Let There Be Rock did. So, without further ado, let's go on and let's talk about the tracks. Let's talk about track number 1, of course, Rock and Roll Damnation. Rock and Roll Damnation is probably the most known song in the Powerage album. Basically, this song's really interesting because it's it had something different in it. The song featured hand claps and maracas, and it does not have a traditional guitar solo, unlike most of AC/DC's material. And as a fact, I like the song a lot, and I listened to that song, and I love the beat on it. It has a really good hard rock sound to it. And then the chorus, how he said, "Rock and Roll Damnation." I do love the chorus. Sounds really good too. It's definitely one of their more unique songs, one of their more creative songs. So yeah, I do like the song, and I do like how the different style that they had on it compared to their normal material. However, that's all I got to say about Rock and Roll Damnation. So let's go on to track number 2, Down Payment Blues. And by the way, once again, I'm gonna the album is basically the same, like also worldwide too. I mean, there's nothing modified except the European album has like Cold Hearted Man on track number 9. I'm not gonna do that song. I'm gonna do the US and the Australian version. So let's continue to track number 2, Down Payment Blues. Down Payment Blues, another great song. It's like one of those songs where it's like one of those build-up songs, except there's a few chords in the beginning of the song. But after 10 seconds of the song, it basically starts out really soft, and then as it gets more towards the middle of the song, it gets harder and harder. I do like the song. I love the chord progression in that song. It's real, even though it's kind of basic and simplistic, it sounded really good. And I'll tell you what, the bass, Cliff Williams did a very good job on bass with this album. I mean, Cliff Williams was definitely the right pick for AC/DC after this album came out. I mean, Mark Evans was good, but Cliff Williams kind of took the bass to another level. And I mean, this album was basically had a really good bass line to it. So yeah, Down Payment Blues, another great song on this album, but that's all I have to say about it. It is the longest song on this album, lasting 6 minutes and 4 seconds. But without further ado, let's go on to track number 3, Give Me a Bullet. Give Me a Bullet. Now this is once again another great song on Powerage. This was a more of a blues rock song, and once again, very good. Had a very good sound to it, and also of course, I love the chord progression throughout that song. It's like that song, along with Down Payment Blues, is kind of, like not as known because it was kind of forgotten for a while. And I just re-listened to it again, and it sounded great. I mean, how come people don't want to replay this song or something? Like, this song is awesome. But I mean, I guess things change. I guess, but I don't know. That Give Me a Bullet is a really good song. It had a really good blues sound. It was a really good chord progression. Very good, colorful lyrics to it. There's really not much there's not really not much else I could say about this song. So let's go on to track number 4, Riffraff. Riffraff is one of the other notable songs on this album. And this album is, I think, one of my favorites. I don't think it's my number one favorite. We'll get to my number one favorite soon. But Riffraff is probably, I'll say, my second favorite song on this album. I really love the drive in this song. Like, that hard lead that they had in the beginning before the lyrics. Well, in the beginning, it had a few chords on there. But and then the lyric part. It had one of the most amazing sounds during the lyrics. It felt a lot different than any of other AC/DC's material. It's harder riffs, however, unlike most of the songs on this album, it's actually slow. It's actually faster. It's a faster song. It's a higher tempoed than the other songs on this album. But still, very good song. I still listen to it a lot. But that's all I got to say about Riffraff. So let's go on to track number 5, which is actually my favorite song on this album, Sin City. Sin City. This song at the beginning, once again, it's they start with a few lead notes, and then they play powerful chords. And then then after that they play the chord progression, and it sounded great. But once we get to the lyrics, it's better. I mean, like creative lyrics saying diamonds and dust, boring lights, rich man first, Lamborghinis, Carkia, die martinis. Really good really fun lyrics to listen to, and I do like the chorus in that song, like I'm going in to Sin City, and then I'm going to win in Sin City where the lights are bright. Go to town tonight. I'm going in to Sin City. Good, yeah, good lyrics. And plus, also in the on the bridge of that song, when Cliff Williams does his great job on bass, just playing that bass solo with no other instruments playing except for the bass, and once again, it sounded amazing. So yeah, Sin City, my favorite song on that album. But that's all I gotta say about that song. So let's go on to track number 6. What's Next to the Moon? What's Next to the Moon? Once again, another great song. Like so far, every song that we've done so far is a great song. What Next to the Moon, man? Cliff Williams, you are still doing a fantastic job. What Next to the Moon was basically like a few chords playing like at one at a time, but it had a lot of bass in it. But really good chord sound to it, and then once we get to the solo, it has once again very good sound to it. Basically, What's Next to the Moon, basically kind of like similar to Sin City, except plays a note every once in a while, like one at a time, but very good sound, very good bass. I really like this. I really like this song. That's all I gotta say about that song. So let's go on to track number 7, Gone Shooting. Gone Shooting. Yeah, Gone Shooting's a pretty decent song. It's definitely another one of their slow tempoed songs. It's also, once again, it's more of a blues song. but it's still an okay song. Basically, they play a few song. They basically play the same few soft notes, like throughout the song until the solos. But still, really good song. Unfortunately, there's really not much else I could say about the song because I don't really know much else about it. But all I could say is it's still a good sounding song and it's more of a blues song. So that's all I gotta say. Let's go on to track number 8, Up to My Neck in You. Up to My Neck in You. This is probably my least favorite song on the album, but it's still a decent song. It basically has a pretty good sound to it, but I do like the lyrics in it. I do think the lyrics are pretty good on it. And I do like the name of it, Up to My Neck in You. I think that's a pretty good name for a song. But other than that, there's really not much else I could say about this song. So yeah, it's a decent song, I guess, but that there's not much else to talk about. That's all I gotta say about it. So let's go on to the final track in this song, Kicked in the Teeth. Kicked in the Teeth. Yeah, this is also another one of the high-tempoed songs. Basically, in the beginning, it's Bon Scott saying a few words, and then the guitars play notes, and Bon says a few words. They play another few notes. Bon says a few words, play another few notes, until we get till we get into the song. And I'll tell you what, Cliff Williams, you are the man. You've made this album. I think you've made this album into a great album. You did a really good job on the bass. Yeah, "Kicked in the Teeth" is a pretty good song. I really do love the lyrics, and I do love the chord progression in that song a lot. And it's one of those high-tempoed hard rock songs that really makes it into a good song. But that's all I gotta say about that track, and let's go on to the conclusion, shall we? Overall, Powerage is a very amazing album. This album was really good throughout. All songs were great, and I give this album a 9.5 out of 10. It's basically it's another one of those great albums. However, the reason why I say it's underrated, because it is true. It is the most least successful album in the Bon Scott era. However, it developed a cult following. It's been known to be Keith Richards, Malcolm Young's, and Cliff Williams' favorite album. And also this album later had really high critical acclaim. And there's some AC/DC fans out there, and some people that I've known that they say that Powerage is their favorite album, and I would agree. It is a really good album. It's not my personal favorite during this era. That was the album before I reviewed Let There Be Rock, but it's still a very good record, and I really enjoy it throughout. So that's basically Powerage, guys. That's all I got to say about it. If you're an AC/DC fan, I would definitely. This will probably be the number one recommendation album that I would get in the Bon Scott era, because it's not really known much anymore. The songs are usually never played. If you listen to this album, you would definitely enjoy it. And then the next album that I'm gonna do, and you guys probably know it, is Highway to Hell. That's all I got to say for you guys. Stay tuned for the next album. I'm Start McCleary Music. Peace.